skepticism of D2C कितना ही scale कर सकते हैं.
Entrepreneur usually thinks of starting up and gets the ball rolling, but without a very solid team, that execution will not be ever complete.
What was that mic drop moment for you when you thought कि boss अब scale करना शुरू कर दिया है, now there are no limits from here?
Had the main communication, the central theme of the communication, product communication was strip that down, and the word strip has a negative connotation, right? So a lot of conversation happened on a lot of WhatsApp group, WhatsApp groups where people were saying, okay, hey, what is Perfora doing, right? Why are they asking?
You to strip. I've seen that, yeah.
So Perfora, like most other D2C consumer brands, is not profitable at the moment.
We really think about our toothpaste or mouthwash. It's just there, sitting on the bathroom shelf, a routine, a habit, something we don't even question. But sometimes life has a way of making us stop and look closer. For Jatan Bawa, that moment came in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic when a visit to the dentist turned into a reality check. He had always taken care of his teeth, followed the basics, brushed twice, flossed sometimes, rinsed when he remembered, and yet there he was realizing that his oral health wasn't in great shape. Turns out he wasn't alone. His co-founder Tushar Khurana had faced similar struggles growing up. The more they researched, the clearer it became. Oral care in India was stuck in time. The products full of questionable ingredients, the awareness almost non-existent, and the industry dominated by age-old brands that hadn't evolved in decades. Jatan wasn't new to the startup life, an SRCC graduate. He had worked with big names, Oyo, Rivigo, Akiva Superfoods, Cult, EY, Vahadam Teas, but something about this problem stuck with him. It wasn't just about toothpaste. It was about changing how people think about their health, starting with something as basic as brushing their teeth. So against all odds, Perfora was born, a brand that don't just sell toothpaste and mouthwash, but aimed to revolutionize oral care, a brand that made something as mundane as brushing your teeth cool, clean and conscious, and the numbers speak for themselves. Perfora's FY24 revenue soared by 180% year on year to touch 42 crore, not bad for a category people barely talked about. Jatan once also told his parents that he wanted to do business. Like every Indian household, the family had apprehensions, of course, but today here he is building a brand that's not just selling products but changing habits. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the man who is turning oral care into a lifestyle. Jatan Bawa, who is the co-founder of Perfora. Jatan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Hemanshi, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be in conversation with you.
All right, Jatan, we launched season 1 of Future Brands of India. We spoke to a lot of D2C brands, but still, there was still a skepticism of, D2C kitna hi scale kar sakte hain. And in this season, we want to capture the paradigm shift of this skepticism from D2C kitna hi scale kar sakte hain to D2C kitna scale kar liya. Right, and which is why you are here, which is why we are here. Now, talking about, just before this conversation, you spoke about the conviction that one has to start their own brand, right? That you had while starting Perfora. On that note, Perfora is a young brand, right? But still, it's a disruptor in its own segment. How does it feel to sort of compete with all those legacy brands in this space?
I think it feels great to be, to be considered as part of the same league, that, we are being, like, our name is being pitted against the incumbents and the category leaders, and to some extent, in one way or the other, we are giving them some competition, or we are sort of, riffling some hairs with them. It feels great to be here, but in all honesty, when we started out, we didn't think of competition, right? We went with a very customer first, consumer insight approach. We felt that the consumer needs a better product, and if you're able to build a better product and we're able to talk about the product in a way which is differentiated, which sort of resonates with the consumer out there, we should be able to attract some customers, we should be able to get some validation. We've never really thought about like where do we stand against the competition, because I know if we get into that conversation, it's a deep conversation, it's a rabbit hole, right? Because you're not coming back from there. And to be us, to be original, to be what you mentioned, or the way you described us as disruptors, we have to think originally, right? We have to think different from how the competition is thinking. So in our internal meetings, we've sort of stopped discussing competition. We don't think like competition, we don't benchmark ourselves against competition. We just think what is right for the customer, right? And if it is right for the customer, we'll continue to do that. But feels great to be be part of the same consideration set in one way or the other.
All right, so you've been using all these products, like before Perfora was born, even you were using all those traditional oral care products, right? You were their consumer. So did you imagine brushing up against these big players this soon?
Not at all. I think it's a dream come true, and a lot of sort of contribution has been done by our team. An entrepreneur usually thinks of starting up and gets the ball rolling, but without a very solid team, that execution will not be ever complete. So I think we're very grateful for the team that has joined us and is working day in and day out to make this dream into reality. Second, I feel that in our case, we started with no expectations as such, right? We started that like I mentioned, that we wanted to do right by the customer, and today we feel like very good that we're able to get some market share. We're able to have a set of evangelists who really vouch by our products. But if you asked me like 10 years ago, a decade ago, if I imagined that I'll be in this category and I'll be building products in the oral care category, I hadn't envisaged that, and I hadn't imagined that I'll be sitting in this position thinking about what can we do to improve oral health of Indian consumers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We are talking about D2C companies also. Future Brands of India is about D2C companies. Like I said in the introduction, we used to say कि कितना ही scale कर सकते हैं D2C, right? And now you are here. You are actually working day and night to scale this D2C brand from 0 to 100, right? So what was that mic drop movement for you when you thought कि boss अब scale करना शुरू कर दिया है, now there are no limits from here?
Well, I'll be candid, because I'm always candid whenever I'm on
That's
camera,
what we
off
want.
camera. I feel there was no one mic drop moment for us, right? It's been a journey. It's been 3+ years since we launched the brand. So we've been sort of looking at data very closely. We've been sort of speaking to our customers very closely. We've been sort of learning and absorbing their feedback and implementing all the negative feedback into our product strategy and making our products better. I feel what we have done is that we've managed to build a brand that at least the young India, the India that lives in metropolitan cities, resonate with our brand comms, with our identity, with the kind of products that we do and that we've been doing over the last couple of years. That is one. Second, what we've really done exceptionally well is that we've worked on very strong consumer insights, and that is what D2C enables us, right? Because I can very proudly say that we are the largest D2C oral care brand in the country that has probably the highest number of people when it comes to oral care, or highest number of customers directly for an oral care brand, right? Even the incumbents in our category, they all sell via trade, right? And when you're selling via trade, you don't have direct access to customers. So that pool of customers helps us get better at what we are doing, and I think that's what leading us to sort of, when we look at those numbers, when we hear that feedback today, very fortunately, anywhere between 25 to 35 to 40 odd emailers and text messages that I received from strangers and customers that they bought our brand and they love it because they feel the packaging is so good, the product is so good, the communication is so good, and they were like, why didn't this happen earlier, right? And everyone sort of ends up sort of appreciating the good work that we are doing. So yeah, I think it's been a work in progress, and it is still work in progress.
Yeah, you know, tell me, you were talking about the young population, right? Tell me from your founder's perspective, how to make a product as cool that the Gen Zs actually want to talk about it, because this is something, this is a niche product, right?
Yeah.
It's a bathroom essential, and now Gen Zs are talking about it.
Yeah.
How have you made this product this cool?
I think one, you just speak to a lot of Gen Zs first, right? That's the starting point to understand what are the products that they want to talk about and what are the products that they don't want to talk about, and what are the characteristics of a certain product or a certain brand that will make them talk about it in their private circles, right? That is one. Second, once we get those insights, we have to stay true to those insights, so that we can come up with a product or come up with a brand that delivers on that packaging or that identity that the young consumer or the Gen Z wants to resonate with, right? Which is what we've been able to do, that when we go, right, we looked at, okay, hey, Gen Z, for example, likes colors, right? They like vibrant colors, they like pastel colors, right? Second, they want something that's more hassle free, right? Like Gen Zs today, I feel, again, that's one of our customers' insights, that they don't want to spend a very enormous amount on one particular product and stick with that product for ages, right? They are continuously sort of upgrading, they're continuously sort of replacing, right? They're mindful, but they also don't want to sort of over invest in one particular product. So the pricing has to be also right? So that they don't feel very guilty of investing in something and they feel that, okay, hey, now I'm stuck with this particular product for forever. So I think those are some of the insights that has helped us to build a cool product and a cool brand, so that the younger India relates with us.
All right, on that note, we were talking about scaling this brand, and talking about scaling, you know, logistics is the main part of it. And you also spoke about that you are the largest D2C oral care brand in India, which means handling a lot of customer data by yourself, right?
Yeah.
You are not taking help of anyone else.
Yeah.
You're doing all by yourself. So talking about, you know, doing it yourself, logistics also comes under your purview, right?
Yeah.
So how do you sort of keep a balance that, you know, the scaling is at the right path, but there's no compromise when it comes to quality as well?
Well, I think one, we try and work with the best in the industry for everything when it comes to for our brand, right? And that starts from, like, if I go back to the drawing board, it starts from as basic as getting the right raw material, right? Whether that's an ingredient, whether that's plastic, whether it's, you know, the nylon bristles that we use in our toothbrush. So quality parameters are like very high benchmark standards that we have to work with an industry leader. To give you a sense now, and I'll go slightly technical, so apologies for that, but you know, every toothbrush has bristles, right? Which is where you use on our teeth. Now there are hundreds of manufacturers that can manufacture those bristles. We have visited multiple of these factories where these bristles are being manufactured, but globally DuPont is the industry leader when it comes to nylon bristles, right? Of course, when they are an industry leader, they have certain quality parameters, quality controls in place, and they also charge a certain premium. And we're happy to pay that premium because we want to work with the DuPont, right? We don't want to work with a local supplier of bristles, right? Similarly, when it comes to logistics, as a brand, we always had the choice that we can continue to ship our products via surface. But today, if you're in Bombay, in Bangalore, in any city which has airport connectivity, you will get, if you place an order today, and if let's say the order is shipped tomorrow from our respective warehouse, you will get that order delivered in 48 hours because we opt for air shipments. We work with the likes of you know, Delivery and Blue Dart who enable air shipments for us, and we don't want our products to be in transit for 5 days, right? Of course, when you're shipping products via air, you are paying a certain premium to the logistics partner. On the tech side as well, we've built custom dashboards where we are looking at multiple metrics, both at a product level, at a customer level, at a channel level, which is helping us take the right decision when it comes to which product to scale, which channel to scale, and how much to spend on that particular product, etc., right? Because you know, initially it does get overwhelming, but as you continue to go through the journey, you continue to learn. And I'm a first time founder, so I'm learning a lot. I'm having a lot of fun while learning it. And like I said earlier in the conversation, none of this would be possible without the team that we have, right? I think it's the team that's executing. Today, my job is a lot about, thinking from the future standpoint and making sure all the loopholes are being fixed every now and then. But I think it's the team that is executing day in and day out, whether it is on logistics, whether it is on product, whether it is on tech part.
All right. Talking about the tech part, you spoke about CRMs and everything. AI and data, right now, they are inseparable as a toothbrush and a toothpaste, right?
Yeah.
So how are you sort of using these data, because D2C has this advantage of having all these data for themselves, right? So how are you using this data to sort of personalize the smiles around you?
There's a lot of there are multiple ways that we're sort of putting the data that we've captured from our customers on our website in different ways, right? So for example, let's say you buy a toothpaste from our website, right? Now we've built out custom journey using that. Let's say you bought our product on 10th of March and you've bought 2 toothpaste tubes, which is 200 grams. We will assume in our data set, and that is the criteria that we've sort of integrated at the back end, that Himanshi's bought 2 toothpaste, probably she lives with someone, and probably these 2 toothpaste are going to be used by 2 people. A 100-gram toothpaste ideally should last you about 25 days. So 50 days down the line, her toothpaste will get over if she's consistently using it, right? So on 40th day, we will trigger a personalized communication to you on email, on WhatsApp, where we'll remind you, hey Himanshi, your toothpaste might be getting over, and like empty toothpaste tubes don't look good on your washroom shelves, and it's probably time for you to place a repeat order, right? And here's how you can very seamlessly place a repeat order on the click of 2 buttons, right? So we've made it very easier. We also remind the customer so that that person can come back and order again, right? So this is one of the use cases of the data that we are sort of implementing in our everyday execution. Second, there are people who we are looking at from a data standpoint. You would have bought a toothpaste, but you've not bought again, right? There's a separate set of customer list that comes to our team, which says, okay, hey, this customer bought a toothpaste but hasn't bought in the last 4 months, and the first purchase happened 4 months, right? So we will sort of first initiate a WhatsApp communication with that customer to give us a rating on the product, right? Did you like the product, not like the product, right? Once that customer has voted, right? If that customer has voted, we will know, okay, this person hasn't liked the product, and then we'll ask for what the feedback is. If that person hasn't voted, the next course of action in this journey would be for us to call that customer up and understand, sir, ma'am, what happened, what went wrong, are you not liking the product? If you're not liking the product, why are you not liking the product, right? And there are enough and more times where people say, okay, hey, I bought the product first time from your website, but the next time the purchase happened on a quick commerce platform or on any other marketplace like Amazon, right? Which is where we know, okay, we've not recorded that data because the customer hasn't repeated with us, but in reality the customer has repeated on a different platform, right? So again, multiple ways we are able to sort of slice and dice that data and put that data into use for our brand.
All right, you're talking about quick commerce and different marketplaces. What do you think? D2C is considered D2C because it sells on its own channels, right?
Yeah.
And now that D2Cs are expanding, they are becoming omni-channel perhaps, which is the need of the hour. But are they still D2C after that?
Well, I think from a technical standpoint, no, they're not D2C, because if you continue to be omni-channel and if you continue to sort of sell a lot of your products on third-party marketplaces, you don't really have access to customers. But what we have done and what we have stayed true to is that a large chunk of our revenue comes from our own website, because we want to deliver an elevated experience to the customer, right? Yeah. We feel when you order from a third-party marketplace, though you're sort of solving for accessibility, you're solving for faster delivery timelines, you're solving for trust, but the kind of experience that we can delivered to the customer via our own website is very different, right? It's not an apple to apple comparison. So the customer decides at the end of the day where do they want to buy it from. But internally, from a company standpoint, we are very, very bullish on D2C. A lot of people, when we were starting out, were sort of used to make a lot of fun and used to sort of laugh at us, saying, "Ki, you are saying that you will launch a website for toothbrushes and toothpaste and you expect that people will go and buy there? And we said yes, because we really believe in the products that we're launching, in the brand that we're going to build. But most people were like, these products are bought at a grocery store or at a kirana store or at a third party marketplace when you're sort of building your entire grocery list. So what you're saying is very far-fetched and probably that's not going to happen. I think we've been able to sort of put those naysayers to some rest to some extent, because we've managed to scale the D2C part of our business.
All right, but because we have tasted the blood of getting all things delivered to our places in 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that you can compete with that 10 minutes time through your D2C channel, or are you looking to perhaps in the future to solve this problem of quicker delivery through your own website?
This is the exact same conversation I was having with my team earlier this week, right? That we don't want to compete with a quick com platform when it comes to 10-minute delivery, right? So one has to understand the proposition of quick commerce is very different from a brand website, right? The proposition of quick commerce is twofold. One, faster delivery, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever that time is. Second, large assortment, right? You go on a quick com platform and you can buy a shampoo, you can buy a protein bar, you can buy a shower gel, you can buy a toothpaste, you can buy a toothbrush, you can buy sunscreen, etc., and you can even buy electronics. There's so much wide assortment there, right? On our D2C, we are limited by the choice of products that we have, and we'll always continue to be an oral care brand, so you'll only have oral care products. Now, if someone comes to our website and buys an oral care product, he or she is very sure that he or she is looking for that particular product from that particular brand and is willing to wait 2 or 3 days, whatever the standard delivery timeline is. Second, additionally, what we do on D2C, which is very differentiated and unique about us, that we have built an entire back-end ops and supply chain for personalizing toothbrushes, right? So you can go to our website and order a personalized toothbrush, a personalized water flosser, and that will be delivered to you in the next 72 hours, which is proprietary to us, right? You can't get a personalized toothbrush on a third-party marketplace, right? So the proposition also differs from a website standpoint, because if you've really looked at our product and say, okay, hey, these guys know how to personalize and I would want my name on this toothbrush, then you'll have to wait a couple of days, right? But if your toothbrush is running out and if you want to just quickly replace it and want to order a bunch of more things, that is where you will go to a quick com and solve for that last minute thing.
No, absolutely. Now, tell me about the campaigns, the digital campaigns. Have you planned any digital campaigns, or what were those campaigns that actually got your customers to rave about your products in the WhatsApp groups? Because at the end of the day, most of us are believing the WhatsApp groups, right?
Yeah, interesting. So, in terms of campaigns, we've done 2 campaigns broadly for our brand so far at a macro level. One campaign we'd initiated in December of 2023. This was with this actor named Jim Sharp, where we wanted to put out a conversation and a communication that the existing toothpaste are not safe because they contain ingredients that are potentially harmful and dangerous, and those same ingredients are present in your laundry detergent and dishwashing soaps, etc. So, and the scientific fact is that whenever you're brushing your teeth, you are ingesting 5 to 7% of the toothpaste that you're using every single day. So you have to be very, very mindful, and you have to think about what products you're ingesting, right? And we had a range of toothpaste which are made with clean ingredients, which come in very different and interesting flavor profiles, and that sort of communication resonated with a lot of people, because they felt, okay, hey, this is an actor that we know, this is a serious actor, he doesn't do, he does very interesting work which is more heavy on character, he chooses his characters very strongly, and if he's talking about this brand, this is some information that we should absorb and we should take notice. And we were very, very particular that we don't want to push the product, we want to push the communication, right? Which means that we want to land the central message that your current toothpaste contains certain ingredients which might not be the best for your oral health, right? That is one. Second campaign that we had done recently, which was in December of 2024, this was for a new product that we had introduced, which was teeth whitening strips. We launched this product with this actor influencer named Urfi Javed. The idea was, because this was an innovative product, people hadn't heard of teeth whitening strips and what are teeth whitening strips and how to use it, etc. So we went out with a very bold and controversy-led communication for this launch, where we had the main communication, the central theme of the communication, product communication was strip that down, and the word strip has a negative connotation, right? So a lot of conversation happened on a lot of WhatsApp group, WhatsApp groups where people were saying, okay, hey, what is Perfora doing, right? Why are they asking
Urfi to strip? I've seen that, yeah.
So and people were like very constantly reaching out to me, to other team members, that is everything fine? We just read this. Is it true? Or is this some campaign? A few people were a little more suspicious. Is this some campaign, or has this happened for real, etc., etc. But then we, as a brand, because this was all planned, we were able to clarify in a couple of days of time, and then we launched the product, and people were like, wow, this seems very unique, very innovative, and has got the eyeballs rolling, and the right kind of conversation is happening. And as we speak today, this product is sold out. Hopefully this product will be back in stock in a week or so. So yeah, I think that's been the...
Things are really working out, right? On that note, we have entered a new era of confidence. We are seeing a lot of people actually launching their own brands, a lot of startups coming in. However, a lot of these startups are sort of getting large amounts of revenue, but when it comes to profitability, D2C space is lacking.
Yeah.
A lot of reports have said that. What do you feel like? Where are we currently when it comes to Perfora? Where is Perfora currently?
Sure. So Perfora, like most other D2C consumer brands, is not profitable at the moment. But the core thesis here, Hemanshi, is that to build a brand, like in the traditionally, if you were to build a brand like 20 years ago, it would take at least 10 years to get to the scale that we are at today, which we've managed to accomplish in 3 years, right? So we are growing 3 to 4x faster than what a traditional brand building would take, or the time it would take, right? And since we are getting there faster, and it will take some amount of capital to be lost or some amount of capital to be burned, because the reality is brand building takes time, and brand building is equal to consumer trust. It takes time to sort of build that trust in the minds of consumer. When you advertise aggressively, you are trying to show a customer probably 5 times in a month that ideally you should have shown 5 times in a year to buy your brand or to buy your product, right? When you do it 5 times in a month, that customer is only going to buy once, but you are saying that you have to buy it now. And once you're trying to push that out, there is some capital that gets burned, because you're trying to acquire that user faster than what it would have taken normally. So, but for us internally, we've aligned that we don't, like, in a couple of years we will be turning break even and hopefully positive from there on. But 5 years is the timeline that we've taken, that the first 5 years we'll have to burn some capital to really build out some share of voice, to build out some brand awareness, to build out some consumer trust, etc. But beyond 5 years, at a certain scale, we should not be losing money, because the business should be churning enough and more reserves to fund itself.
All right, so now let's talk about the funding and valuation part. There are bootstrapped companies, there are VC funded companies, and then there are both, right? So bootstrapped versus VC funded companies, what is the real flex for D2C companies to start with?
I think, see, both are I would say, for an entrepreneur, these are both options, right? An entrepreneur decides at some point in time what route they want to take, whether they want to be bootstrapped or whether they want to raise external capital via VC, etc. It also, to some extent, is a function of ambition and the scale that a founder or a brand wants to get to in a certain time frame. Now, like, we've been sort of very fortunate that we've raised venture capital money very early in our journey, and the reason why we decided to raise capital early on, because we knew this category requires advertising dollars, this category requires brand building, this category requires brand awareness, right? Unlike a lot of other categories, let's say footwear, for that example, a lot of footwear today is still unbranded, right? But if you look at oral care, it is very branded category. You will not buy a no-name toothpaste or a no-name toothbrush, right? But you can buy a no-name footwear because it's okay, right? Because there are a lot of flea markets happening, there are a lot of smaller unorganized players in the category. So we were very clear that if we want to take a real chance at building a brand in this category, and we want to do this at a certain scale in the next 20 years, we'll have to raise some capital and undertake that journey. But on the contrary, I also have a lot of respect and admiration for people and entrepreneurs who are doing it bootstrapped way. It's tough, but at the same time, you're doing it at your own pace, right? Because when you raise venture capital money, you also have to deliver returns, right? It's not a one-way street that you raise money and you forget, right? Eventually, in a 7 to 10 year time period, you have to give an exit to that investor. So you have to do all the back calculation when you're raising that capital, and if your business would be able to justify those kind of returns or not.
All right. Recently this HUL and minimalist deal sort of shook the entire D2C space. A lot of events perhaps happened, Sirona there was acquired by a Good Glam Group, but then he bought it back. Yeah. So, a lot of major events are happening in the D2C space. Yeah. Just in case if ever Perfora gets acquired, what is that one thing you don't want yourself to compromise for?
Well, if and when, hopefully in the future, if this happens, right, our brand gets acquired, what I wouldn't want us to compromise on is 2-3 things. One, we would want to make sure that our brand continues to live for longer, and that should be the fundamental reason why we are selling the brand, because we feel a larger player would be able to make sure that we don't die, we continue to sort of exist till eternity, like the way larger brands have existed in our category. Second, I would want to make sure that all our team members who've taken all the pain to help us get there are fairly compensated during that process. And third, I feel that the brand ethos should not be lost, because a lot of times it happens, and I've seen that happening across multiple merger and acquisitions, where the larger brand that is acquiring a challenger brand, etc., the larger brand sort of loses out the ethos and the values of the smaller brand or the brand that they're acquiring, right? I feel it's very important for the brand that is being acquired, for it to continue to exist, that their ethos and their values are being retained, right? Of course, the upside for the smaller brand should be that they should be able to leverage the strengths and the expertise of the larger brand in terms of marketing efficiency, in terms of distribution, in terms of scaling up the business further. But the core insight, like for example, for us, the core insight is that we want to deliver safe and effective oral care for Indian consumers, right? That should continue to exist.
All right, on that note, if ever you get, you are the founder, you've seen all the upsides and downsides of being an entrepreneur, of having a business, and you perhaps know all the white spaces or all the loopholes that you still need to fill in the upcoming few years. If you get 100 crores overnight, what is that first thing you would like as an entrepreneur to spend on?
Well, if we get that kind of money, I think for us, largely the major challenge that we are facing as a business, as a brand, is to create more brand awareness in this category, right? We would want to spend a considerable chunk of that money on creating brand awareness, which means telling the people out there, telling the consumers out there that they also have another option when it comes to buying a toothpaste, toothbrush, a mouthwash, etc., apart from the legacy players that exist in the category, and also further double clicking on it, telling them why we are different and how we are better than what is in the category. That is one. Second, if we get that kind of capital, we would want to spend a lot of money in creating distribution, because distribution is very central to scaling a consumer business in our country, right? You can have your brand can be sort of known to, let's say, 50 crore people, but if you're not available, or if the brand is not accessible in terms of buying, right? Yeah. All that spend is futile, right? Yeah. You can't sort of make anything out of it, right? So while we sort of do brand awareness and brand building and make consumers aware of who we are, why do we exist, why we are better, etc., in parallel, we also need to start creating distribution, because creating distribution is also very, very expensive, right? Today, if you walk to a retailer, he or she is not going to give his time of the day or her time of the day, because they have so much to do, right? And for them, you're nobody, right? And you're asking for some shelf space, and they want to take your like heart, kidney, lungs, liver, everything in that conversation, and make sure that you don't have anything left, right? So it's very expensive to create distribution. So a lot of our, if we get that kind of capital, a lot of our capital will be spent in building the awareness and creating distribution.
All right, talking about building awareness, creating distribution, and at the end of the day, increasing your customers and also retaining those customers, right?
Yeah.
So, there has been a lot of conversations around loyalty programs.
Yeah.
So, what do you think in the D2C space? Are loyalty programs there to stay, or you can do without it as well?
I feel you can do it without it as well, but it also depends on what is the kind of business that you're in, right? So, for example, a D2C business can be multiple types of business, right? So, for example, Starbucks is a D2C business, or a Chayos is a D2C business, because they're selling direct to the customer, right? A customer is walking into their cafe, in their restaurant, and shopping for a coffee or a chai or other products that they want to consume. Similarly, in our case, a consumer is coming to our website and shopping for oral care products. Now, for a Chayos and a Starbucks, loyalty makes a lot of sense, because their products are not very widely available apart from their stores, right? If you want that Chayos wali chai, either you'll have to order on Zomato, or you'll have to walk into a Chayos and order that product and sort of get it. In our case, because we are present across platforms, our products are also available on our own website, but they're also available on a platform like Blinkit, Swiggy, Instamart, Amazon, etc. We feel that a customer will eventually decide where do they want to purchase the products from, right? I can have the best loyalty program, but if a customer is going to value convenience and large assortment apart from oral care for their next purchase, they will eventually buy on that particular platform, right? So, for a product business that is available across multiple platforms, loyalty becomes a little less relevant. For a business that is only on one platform, or majority of their sales or revenue is coming from one particular platform, for them loyalty is very, very important.
All right, so that was about loyalty programs. We are also talking about a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 consumption that has started to happening, and we are seeing a lot of increase in a lot of tier 2 and tier 3. People are sort of venturing or sort of moving towards the new age brands now. So when it comes to you, when it comes to Perfora, do you think that they are the next D2C gold mine, or they are the tough nuts to crack?
I feel a lot of it depends on the brand itself, right? Which audience does your brand appeal to, or which audience does your brand relate to, and what are the kind of products you've launched at what particular pricing, right? So it is definitely a gold mine for brands that are more massier, and their pricing is a lot more affordable, and their communication is in a way that the tier 2 or a tier 3 audience resonates with. Like, for example, in my head, if you want to sell to a tier 3, a lot of the conversation, a lot of the brand communication has to be in either Hindi or English, right? It cannot be purely English, right? Otherwise, you're reaching out to a very small audience in a tier 2 or a tier 3 city. But, and then your pricing has to be in a way which is very similar to what they are getting in the neighborhood kirana store for a similar product, right?
But India has been a price sensitive market for
India
forever.
Is a price sensitive market, right? Even it is still, right? But if your pricing is on the higher side, and if your packaging is such a way, if your brand identity is in such a way that it appeals to more evolved consumers, then a tier 2 or a tier 3 might not be a gold mine. Then the gold mine for you would be, if I acquire, or if I have Hemanshi as a customer, how many more times can I sell to Hemanshi, right? Or how many more Hemanshis can I get, and who can help me build the brand? So again, like, I'm sorry, there's not a straight answer to this, but it is a lot more brand driven, right? What does your brand stand for?
But for you, Perfora, are you not looking at tier 2 and tier 3 at this point?
Not at the moment, because we feel our brand design, our brand identity, our way of communication, our product pricing is more suited towards tier 1, and there's a lot of penetration or there's a lot of distance for us to cover even in the tier 1 cities today, right? Like we are barely scratching the surface. There's a lot more that we can do.
All right, then talking about tier 1 only, you know, many D2C brands sort of struggle with high customer acquisition costs, right? Especially with rising digital ad prices as well. So how have you managed your marketing spends, right? While also keeping your growth steady, because I have one research that CACs have increased by 30 to 40% post-pandemic due to its higher competition for online ad space. So how do you manage that?
I think you're asking for our secret sauce.
Yeah.
But I think, see, fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of the way we think, and that's what I'm going to answer, we think like a customer. We take their insights, we understand what do they want to hear, we understand what is making them buy, what is not making them buy, etc. You're right from a research standpoint that the cost of advertising has gone up and is constantly increasing, right? Year on year, the cost of advertising is only increasing. It is not coming down. But we've been able to figure out, you know, what is the right content to put out when it comes to acquire a new user. We've been able to figure out what products to target to a certain audience segment, and where are they likely to convert and where are they likely not to convert, how to sort of persuade them to buy into our brand journey. A lot of it is about building that trust, right? So I fundamentally start thinking, if I am trying to show my ad to a stranger, he or she is not going to buy at the very first go, right? And I have to accept that fact. I have to build that into my P&L. But I also have to start thinking, what do I show that customer the first time? What do I have to show the customer the second time, the third time, the fourth time, and the fifth time? And those 5 different communication should be different, but the central message should be same, right? So that one message, the central message, is sort of registering in the mind of consumer, and he or she is feeling that, okay, hey, now I've seen enough. I've seen a lot of this, a lot of communication from this particular brand, so I can probably give it a try, right? Sometimes you have to also start thinking, because India is a price sensitive country, when like probably at the 4th or the 5th communication you sort of plug in some offer, right? So that the customer or the consumer here feels that, okay, now they've really sweetened the deal for me, so let me just cross the line. But yeah, I think it is still a work in progress for us. We are also trying to figure out how can we continue to reduce our customer acquisition cost or keep our customer acquisition cost static, but at the same time get more revenue from the same customer. So there's a lot of work happening. It's an everyday problem, right? It's something that we spend n number of hours discussing internally, what can we do better, right? And today, at least I also spend a considerable time thinking about content, thinking about creatives, thinking about how can we convince a new consumer to trust a new brand like ours.
Yeah, you know, now we are moving towards the end of this conversation, and thank you for all those insights and being extremely casual with us. On that note, you know, there has been a slowdown in VC funding as well, right? So how have you managed your finances and growth without the over-reliance on external funding?
Yeah, again you're asking for another secret sauce. But to be candid, I think we've had our fundamentals in place, right? That, like I mentioned earlier, that we don't want to be a loss-making company forever, right? Like we knew that we will burn some money because we want to acquire a certain market share, we want to create certain level of brand awareness. But we've always looked at our P&L, our finances, our data very closely, and that has helped us navigate the slowdown in VC funding as well. Even the slowdown in VC funding, the macro reason why that is happening is because earlier a lot of companies raised a lot of money, and those companies were not able to give the kind of returns that VCs expect, and there was some disconnect. Which is when, you know, VCs started looking for data more meticulously. They started looking at P&L in more depth. They started thinking about whether this business has the potential to become profitable at some point in time or not, right? Whether the founders are thinking in the right direction or not. We've also been very, very fortunate that we have the right set of investors who, one, think long term, second, believe in our execution capabilities, third, fundamentally think like us, right? They think profitability, they think that consumer brands have to like turn a profit at some point in time, sooner the better. But and we've sort of had the right set of folks internally who are helping us manage our finances very well. So I think those are some of the reasons why we have managed to sort of sustain the business and grow the business, and at the same time not increase our losses.
All right, thank you so much, Jatan. Just a few last questions, a little rapid fire.
Sure.
See, you were talking about a lot of customers texting you on all the products. So if you can, convert any one customer feedback into a billboard ad, what would that be?
One customer feedback that into a billboard.
Yeah. Any interesting feedback you got from your customer?
There's a lot actually. I'm just trying to think which one is I can convert into a billboard.
That's
right?
a good problem to have.
Yeah, I think one of the customers texted and sort of mentioned that, and he was a young person, young guy. Unfortunately, I will not sort of name that person, though I remember that person's name. He's saying he would sort of get rejected on most dates that he would go to, and once he started using our teeth whitening products, he instantly saw that he was sort of getting the follow-on dates, or eventually ended up creating a girlfriend, right? So like the billboard that I can think of, whiter teeth for a permanent girlfriend, powered by Perfora, right? Something on those lines.
All right. So, that's really interesting. Now let's close this conversation with the founder's wish list. See, you were talking about that you are thinking about the future while your team sort of enables that the present is at place, and it's good, right? So when it comes to the future, from the future perspective, what is your wish list? Any top 3 items, maybe in tech or maybe in anything related to your business? What's your wish list?
In terms of, what we want to build is, we want to build a loved consumer brand. The goal for us is that over the next 3 to 5 years, we want about 10 million households, which is about 4 crore people, if there are 4 people in a household, using our products every single day. That is what we are gearing for. We want to very strongly focus on a few products in our portfolio which we are seeing a very strong product market fit for. That is what we want to double down on. And third, I think we want to, as a brand, be always very accessible to our consumers and customers, right? They should always be able to sort of text me, email me, call me as and whenever required, so that they don't lose the trust in what we are building, right? So these are some of the things that we are focusing on, that we get to the kind of numbers that we want to in terms of customer penetration. We always remain accessible in terms of addressing any queries, any grievances, any questions that our customers or consumers have. And third would be to make sure that we build a very strong brand when it comes to a positioning standpoint, right? Sometimes when you're building a business and building a brand, you do get lost because there's so much to do, right? The focus for us over the next couple of years is that let's be fixated on a particular brand positioning and make sure that brand positioning is resonating with the world out there.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jatan, for being a part of this conversation. It was lovely chatting with you today.
Thank you so much, Hemanshi, once again for having me. Pleasure speaking with you.
All right. And to our viewers, stay tuned for many more such videos. This was Future Brands of India Reloaded Season 2 with fresh ideas and fearless brands.